Welcome to the Inspirational Living podcast, brought to you today by Attitude, makers of the world's first organic bamboo lyocell bedding. Try out their heavenly soft bamboo bedding for 100 days risk-free. Get 10% off your purchase by using the special coupon code INSPIRATION. Visit them online at attitude.com. That's ETTITUDE.com. Discover what it feels like to sleep on a cloud. Today's podcast was edited and adapted from The Key to Health, Wealth, and Love by Julia Seton, published in 1917. At some time or another in our lives, we all come to a place where two or more paths open up for us, and we stand at the crossroads undecided which way to go. There is no friend near to whom we can seek advice. It is here that the person who has developed the power of meditation, of inner communion, can rest a while and find within themselves the solution to all difficulties. This inner advisor has been called the still small voice, our higher self, and many other symbolic terms which have served their purpose to awaken the mind to the existence of an inner consciousness. But whatever we name it, it is that guidance we gain when we can control our objective senses and link our mind with the universal storehouse of knowledge. This infinite source is the place where all may, if they will, become at one with such knowledge and wisdom as can only be dimly glimpsed in the terms of human language. Here is the source of all wisdom ever sung, written, or spoken by the world's sages of all time, and there is no deeper source. Higher than this, no mind can go. But where exactly do we go when we meditate, when we, quote, enter the silence for inner guidance? Some people think they go into some mysterious, unseen, unknown condition or place outside of themselves, which only can be attained by some abnormal process of thinking. Others find that the only place they go is to sleep. But sleep is not silence. When we sleep, we go into a great silence, but we do not get into the great psychical perception that the true silence brings. The true silence is waking sleep, where we consciously put the surface mind to sleep, and then consciously awaken ourselves into a higher plane of activity. The silence is an induced condition of mind, and the only place anyone ever goes when they go into the silence is into the transcendental states of their own consciousness. There are three distinct functions of the human mind, and we must be familiar with these before we can understand our own psychology. These three functions are generation of thoughts, emanation of thoughts, and reception of thoughts. Generation, emanation, reception. This is the trinity of all physical, mental, and psychological functioning. Many minds are always generating thought energy. They never rest. They never really stop to take in a thought from another mind or from the universal current. The result is that their minds continually eat up their own strength and power. Others are always sending out thought emanations. They pass them directly into words. They talk, without a chance to consciously generate thoughts. They get brain fog from the overstimulation of their generating and emanating thought centers. Often one can only get them to stop a moment and listen by talking more loudly than they do, and at an increased word speed. There are others who are always receiving, not in the true subjective sense of reception, but with their surface mind. They go about mute, thoughtless, without words. They accept whatever is given them. The strongest suggestion is the last one they act upon. Our old thought mind had to be taught that it could think, and that it could generate and send out thoughts at will. our new thought mind has to learn that it can stop thinking and suspend its surface states of mind and pass at will into the transcendental states of its own consciousness, which it induces by choice. The silence is simply the transcendental states of our own mind, and in these states we find that there is a plane of thought higher than thinking, which is registration. In this condition, we use only the receptive side of consciousness, and our own brain becomes, then and there, a wireless machine registering the messages from the universal current of thought. Many people who enter the silence pass the whole period in sensation rather than inception. They cannot sit down to meditate, concentrate, create a vision, and go on into the wider reaches of their own mind without slipping into this period of sensation. The moment they become still physically and mentally, they begin to awaken to a delightful, half-hypnotic sense which steals over them. They neither know nor care to go further, nor do they desire to return to surface life. Caught in this dream of the senses, they linger half entranced. Then, when they awaken fully, the lethargy lingers, and the quiet of sensation seems better than the realities of life. This is not the true silence, but only one place on the pathway to the higher states. It is good to find, but those who linger there are but babes in wisdom, compared to those who go on and reach the tablelands of spiritual consciousness. It is not the plane of creation or of registration that they have entered, but only the sleep state of the subjective faculties. There are those who expect to get some wonderful physical or mental experience in the silence. They listen for some voice, expect to hear, see, or feel some exciting sensations through flesh and emotions, and are discouraged when they do not, and think that they have not accomplished anything. Do not think that the silence is a place for action as the surface mind conceives activity. Just as there are waves of light above and below the power of sensation of the retina of the eye, and sound waves below the registration of normal hearing, so there are levels of thinking, feeling, and being beyond the normal sensation of mind. Go into the silence just to be, not to do. The doing ceases when you leave the levels of the vision you wish to attain. Beyond this, the work belongs to the infinite, and not the finite side of consciousness. How often should you go into the silence, and when? It's very helpful if you can meditate and go into the silence twice daily. In the morning just before rising, or directly after, and at night, the last thing before going to sleep. This gives the life a chance to get back to its source. If sleep is apt to conquer you, take the opportunity before getting into bed. But if you are a master of your sleep centers, go to bed in the evening and send yourself into conscious union with your source while you have complete physical repose and relaxation. If these hours are not possible, use any hour, time, or place. Remember that the silence is a state of consciousness. It is a new special perception. The steps are meditation, concentration, and creation. But one of the first principles that must be learned is patience. There are many people who take up this practice with great enthusiasm, but then they get no further than committing to memory the fundamental instructions of how to concentrate, how to go into the silence, etc. These folks are like the gardener who, planting seeds one day, was disgusted that there were no plants blooming the next. The seed of the new idea which has been planted in their minds must be tended day by day. If they would only give a quarter of the time to the development of this new thinking that they have given to their old thinking, they would know that success is just around the corner. Be patient, therefore, in your practice. For the degree in which you are patient and earnest, so will your attainment be. In the beginning, you need to be alone. You should have a time and place in which to begin your exercises. The first thing is to take a comfortable position, either standing, sitting, or lying down as may best suit you. You should then choose the attribute which you wish to develop, the goal that you seek, and take from 10 to 15 minutes to concentrate on it, to visualize it. You should think of it in all its details, just what the possession of it would mean to you. You should create it from the mental attitude of interior possession, of already having it. If health is chosen, you should see yourself as you would be. No matter what subject may be chosen, you should always see the perfect interior expression of it. You should never build anything but a perfect image, and feel that it is capable of being materialized by you. The next step is to begin the inbreathing of long, deep breaths. And at every breath you should feel and know that you are drawing to yourself from an inexhaustible supply of everything that is good and desirable. And you really are, for every material as well as spiritual thing is one, and exists as force in the universal energy, and is capable of being attracted into being by those who can make conscious contact with it. As the creation and projection of your vision nears completion, a deep rhythmical breathing should be established. A regular rhythm of inhaling and exhaling will help to perfectly polarize the mind and body. Then, in the final step, as you enter the deep silence, or immersion, the breath should be entirely forgotten, and long, deep breaths usually result without conscious effort. The breaths become few or very deep, and sometimes very far apart, sometimes 2 or 3 in one spasmodic breath. It is not necessary to breathe much during the immersion period, as this period is the period of listening, and when one listens deeply, one cannot breathe. Everyone is familiar with the bated breath of the listener on the edge of their seat, and in the stillness of true immersion, the breath breathes us. We become the very breath of life itself. We shut out from our mind all thoughts, even the vision itself, and blanking our mind, we pass into a place of energy so high that thought cannot translate itself into form or words. After a while, a deep sense of immersion comes to us. We slip half unconsciously into a stillness too deep to be even felt. A little longer and the stillness has us. We are not in the silence then, but the silence is in us. And mind, soul, body, and spirit is all in one great vibration blent. As our mind withdraws from the external world entirely, we relax completely and assume a listening attitude. We get quiet, and still more quiet. Listening. This is the way to the center of being. Listening. So deep we can hear our own heart beat. When you can hear the beating, or even feel fully the vibrations of your blood pulsing through your heart, you have come close to the universal rhythm of life, and are awake in the supra-consciousness of your own mind, and you are ready to make the great divine union from which revelations come. This is the tableland of the soul. Those who touch it know it and speak its language. Those who do not can only read of it, and start out on the pathway of consciousness to find it, armored by their words and guided by the signboards that their elders have set for them. Someday they will find it, enter into it, and when they find it, they will find what they will never forget: the voice of the silence, telling them of their own divinity, and the path that leads to a greater, more joyful life. The Inspirational Living podcast is a production of The Living Hour. For free transcripts, please go to livinghour.org. Today's podcast was brought to you by Attitude, makers of fine organic bedding and accessories. Get 10% off your purchase with the special coupon code INSPIRATION. Visit them online now at attitude.com. That's ETTITUDE.com. Thanks for listening. I look forward to talking with you next time.